Sure, sir. Sure.
Nirav bhai, I think you are on mute, so we can't hear you. We can't hear the ICI motto.
Yeah, Nirav bhai, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Sriji Baba.
Harit bhai, let me play. Okay. Harit bhai, let me play the ICI Moto song.
Yes,
I
yes.
request all the participants to put their right hand on their heart. Now I request Chairman of Ahmedabad branch, CA Harit Dhariwal sir, to give his opening remark. Thank you.
Faculty for the session, Sandeep Ji, Welling from Mumbai, the Vice Chairman of the branch, C. Vishen Shah, Secretary Anjali Choksi, our Rahul Maliwal, the CBA Committee Chairman, all the dear members and my dear friends, a very good afternoon to everyone. So at the onset, let me first thank Sandeep Ji for agreeing to come on a virtual session today on a very important topic, that is advances, audit of advances, and all the participants having just a two announcements. First, I think we have all those who have registered for the entire course. They'll be given a complimentary book from the WIRC, so you can collect it from the branch. The dates will be notified soon. And second is, apart from the session that we are having in this series, we're also coming up with another 2-day session on the bank branch audit. So we'll be updating you on the same shortly. Now, regarding the COVID vaccination drive, there are last few seats which are left. So in case any one of your known family members wants to take a vaccination on Monday, so please register on the Google Drive. The mail was sent by the branch yesterday, and even today morning it was sent. With this, I think I once again, not taking much of the time, I would thank Sandeep Ji for sparing his valuable time. He's been extremely busy traveling across the nation for sessions. So thank you, sir, for sparing your time. I would now request Nirav bhai to please take us forward, and Vishen bhai.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, sir.
sir.
Vishen,
Yes.
you can continue.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. And we are really thankful to our faculty that he is going to spare his time. And the topic of the today, audit of advances, I guess it's a much of importance in bank branch audit, as it's a core thing which a chartered accountant is required to do. And with this innovative technological advancement, and which we had experience last year, we can definitely see the advances of the bank in one Excel file, and we can scale it down or scale it upward, and try to use our knowledge with that. So sir, if you can spare some time on that aspect also, we will be grateful. So yes, Neerav bhai, please take it forward now. Thank you very much. Thank you all the participants.
Thank you, Bishan bhai. Technology can be boom as well as curse at times. We have witnessed it right away. I'll not take much of time. I'll request straight away Sahil Gala, member of our team, to introduce the faculty for the today. And then after, I'll request Sahil to please request sir to take over the charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Neerav bhai. CA Sandeep sir, he's a partner at Kirtan and Pandit LLP, situated in Mumbai. He has over 30 years of experience in assuring practices, specialized in BFSI practice segment, and has assistant bank for Basel II compliances, restructuring, and turnaround, and their branch operation. He has worked with all segments of financial sector. He has worked on rehab, restructure, and feasibility exercise of the borrowing accounts on behalf of the banks. He has been appointed on the instruction of RBI on various forensic investigation. He has been a speaker at various conferences and seminars, national as well as international, particularly for banking sector. He has been a member of various ICI committees and expert panel that deals with various regulators relating to business law. With such a brief introduction, I would like to sir to take over the charge and start the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Will I be able to share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me get started on the topic. Yes, I am aware that the responsibility of delivering advances is much higher. And what I would do, see, generally a session like this is not a coaching class wherein we try to go right from the basic concepts. But every year when we face the audit, there are nuances of that particular topic that needs to be discussed, and we should make our members aware of, what all changes have taken place that we need to take care of from the auditing perspective. Because since all of us are chartered accountants, basic concepts are always known. So if they have any specific query on the issue, they can always come up. But I will be taking through every participant from the perspective of the nuances that we will encounter this year in terms of auditing advances. Okay. Now, as a precursor of my topic, I would like all of us to be aware of some of the prerequisites. That is, we know master circulars, okay, and subsequent to that, Reserve Bank of India is issuing master directions on various topics. One important aspect that we need to be reading very carefully, and that is the closing circulars of every bank issues closing circulars, and there are detailed guidelines on quite a few aspects that generally I have observed members ask as a query. So we need to go through closing circular in details. And of course, Institute has been taking pains in revising guidance note every year. Please note that amongst all the guidance note that Institute has come up with, this is one committee and this is one guidance note that keeps on revising every year. Every year the committee sits on revising. So Institute has been taking pains in making our members aware of the nuances that are being brought in front of us during the course of audit. The soft copies are also available. So we should have the copy of guidance note of audit of bank. Now, during the course of our interaction with regulators, as a CSA or in any other capacity, Reserve Bank of India has been airing a lot of concerns about auditors or audit. So some of those aspects I have noted down for the purpose of the information to our members, and we will be discussing as to how, where do they come, what is the thought process that they come from, and how that we need to address during the course of our audit. The first concern that they have raised is, identification. There is a observation that there are divergences that take place, and what they say that the auditors need to display a greater degree of skepticism and independence. Now, while trying to understand what is this greater degree, because as such, when we conduct audit, that skepticism is part of our thought process. Independence, of course, yes. What is this greater degree was something which I wanted to understand. When I dug into it at various discussions, I realized that there are quite a few observations that we come up with. We try to address them as administrative ones. Say one simple example like documents kept blank, not signed, or only signed completely blank. Simple, such administrative observation that we conclude, because we conclude them to be administrative because they don't have any financial repercussions on our audit. What Reserve Bank of India is saying that some of the things that happen which we feel are administrative, before you conclude that they are administrative, think whether they were not deliberate. Eliminate that part, whether they were not deliberate. So many of the observations that Reserve Bank of India has come up with that greater degree of skepticism, which we have addressed somewhere as an audit observation. So that is where sometimes the divergence also takes place. I have listed down some of the issues where divergences take place later in my presentation, so we'll come to it later. System-based asset classification. Now, this was erstwhile observation. This year on September 13, Reserve Bank of India has already issued a guidance and the directive to all the banks that their entire IRAC system must be system-based. They are compelled to upgrade their systems to ensure that there is no manual interference. So far, there could be few aspects which are required to be operated manually or requires manual intervention. That would completely is expected. Now, some of the large banks, if you are auditing State Bank, PNB, Union Bank, some of these banks I know of, they have upgraded their system to ensure, but many other banks are also in the process of doing it. So this would be one aspect that we will have to look into during our audit. So look at 13 September 2020 circular before we go for audit. Certification and reporting of fraud. We will be discussing this aspect of fraud in details during our presentation today. And how do we deal with it, that needs to be understood. So this is what Reserve Bank of India is saying. Now, non-compliance to external confirmations. Actually, we have forgotten almost long ago that we also need to take external confirmations. Now, where do we take external confirmations from? Generally, in case of borrower account, we may not, because the borrowers themselves take confirmation from the bank. But there are various other liabilities also, where if you find some of the large liabilities or some of the large accounts that needs to take external confirmation on, in my opinion, we should go ahead with. SA 530 on audit sampling. Again, this was an erstwhile observation. This year, LFAR, if you look at, it practically eliminates this point, because unless you engage yourselves into the right audit sampling techniques and document it, we will not be able to conclude our audit. We will be going through those aspects in our presentation. This is a very important observation. IMF and World Bank recommended to Reserve Bank of India having explicit authority to access working papers of auditors. Now, this is at the bank regulatory level. Institute has been saying that yes, the working papers are the exclusive property of a person conducting audit. So the discussions are on, but sometimes it may so happen in the name of regulatory framework, they may lift the veil and we may have to be subjected to expressing, showing our working papers as well. So please note that we need to be very clear. Don't keep papers in your working papers which would put us in trouble, and we need to keep those bare minimum which would justify our stand at any given point of time. Let me come to advances now. If you, all of us are aware that Supreme Court on September 3rd has come up with interim order that says that no account will be marked NPA after 31st of August. If they are not already marked, you cannot mark. The final order has not yet come. And through the independent sources that we try to find out, I realize that the final order will not come before 31st of March. Now, in such cases, frankly speaking, any account which is not marked NPA as of 31st of August will not have any further downgradation during the current year. Along with that, I have listed down few circular dates which are crucial from the perspective of audit of advances during the current year. March 27 one, all of us know. April 17, all of us know. Then August 6, they came up with regard to MSME and resolution of framework, wherein frankly speaking, between 1st of July to 31st of August, even MSME will not be downgraded because of this August 6 circular. So only the accounts which are not forming part of MSME may have been downgraded between 1st of June to 31st of August. Now we will have to be careful whether any account was expected to be downgraded during that time, which is not. And subsequently, it has taken the advantage of September 3rd interim order. So this is one crucial part of audit advances that we will have to undertake during the current year. Now, as a fallout of this, we have come up with two questions, which I would like to throw open to all of us. Now, whether provisions to be made on account which would have become NPA as per IRAC norms in the absence of Supreme Court interim order, as if they were NPA. Now, one view talks about Supreme Court is saying only about downgrading of accounts, marking of any account as NPA. It is silent on the provisioning part. So whether provision would get attracted for such accounts is the question. The second, whether interest would be reversed as a fallout of this, obviously, whether interest should be reversed if they are not. Because if you look at the accounting standard of or accounting policy of any bank, they have been saying that income is being recognized as per IRAC norms. That has been the policy. Now, whether the bank will be able to use their policy this year or they will not be able to. So, there are various ways in which auditor need to take care. First of all, it's difficult for them to follow their accounting policy this year because Supreme Court order says don't mark NPA. Now there is a possibility that bank will say NPA is a subject matter only if it is a NPA, there is a question of reversing of income. Otherwise, frankly speaking, we account on accrual basis. There is a possibility. So, in case the bank has not made any provision, either in full or part, okay, the shortfall in the provision, the excess of income accrued should be quantified and same should form. This is one of the opinion, okay? I'm not trying to tell everyone that this is how it should. We will have to see. There is a debate going on within the panel members of guidance note as to how it should be treated. Guidance note will come out. At the moment, guidance note says something different, and therefore the debates are on, and we'll see how the final version comes out. But this is what is finally given to the institute, saying that it is necessary. We cannot qualify because Supreme Court is above the regulators, and therefore if Supreme Court orders are there, they got to be followed. All we can do is we can have an emphasis of matter in respect of such shortfall. So invariably this year we will have this emphasis of matter in every audit report. Now, there is a possibility that the bank has followed IRAC norms. They'll say prudence hai bhaiya. We need to be prudent and I don't want to be taking chances. Tomorrow something happens. I will have to suddenly provide more. I would rather provide slowly. So they would either follow IRAC norms in full or in part. In such cases, they may be construed that they are not following the Supreme Court guideline. So even such case, also we will have to specifically state that this is what the provision they have made in respect of this and in respect of the accounts which are not downgraded. So either way, this year, it would be necessary for us to quantify either the provisions not made or for that matter provisions made, and we will have to take it forward. Now this is a situation as of 15th of March. So far nothing has happened. Hopefully nothing will happen hereafter also. So this is where the institute also stands. Now, in respect of advances, I will take you all through, on the lines of what questions LFAR is asking with regard to advances, because the entire section is completely revised, and hitherto all the aspects that we were discussing during seminars, and we were cautioning our members as to what they should be looking into, what they should not be ignoring, etc., etc. Reserve Bank of India seems to have captured that entire aspect in the LFAR questions. And this is the first time it has so happened that the audit will not be only with regard to the observations during the course of our audit, but there are number of places where we need to actually give affirmative reply or affirmative assurance, which has made our job more complicated, because many times during the course of our seminar, when I speak about no NPS this year, practically many of the members tend to feel that then there is no job left for us. If there is no NPA to be done this year, no job left for us. But in fact, this new questioning has increased our job tremendously. There is one more aspect that I will be discussing at the end of my session, which has actually put a greater responsibility on chartered accountants, especially during the course of the audit of advances. And we should be well aware of these aspects. First of all, it should be noted that this year onwards, whatever samples we select, they are expected to be documented and part of the LFAR annexure. So what used to happen when Reserve Bank of India inspectors come up and they come up with some divergences, then there has been a discussion and argument whether that particular account was chosen for audit or not, etc., etc. To eliminate that, Reserve Bank of India is saying, simply give me the list of accounts you have chosen. Now, when we give this list, you can imagine the amount of responsibility that we are increasing. One thing is there, so far we had 5% and 2 crores and above. Now 10 crores and above, all the accounts, or 10% of the branch, about 10% of single account having 10% or more of the branch exposure. So these are the accounts that need to be chosen for the purpose of our audit, and all the questions in LFAR would be answered with reference to those accounts. LFAR also expects us to specifically choose accounts in respect of those specific questions. That would be additional selection sampling. But broadly, all the questions would be answered with respect to these accounts, 10 crores and above, which Reserve Bank of India expects us to check. And out of that, percentage examined. So list all and then percentage examined. Now, how it has captured all our auditing points. Any account under advances that gets into NPA or that slips into NPA within 12 months. Now, this would be a hypothetical question this year, because after 12 months, no account is going to be NPA. So this question may not arise this year, but any account that slips into NPA within 12 months is called a early mortality account. Now, when you find early mortality account, normal course in this year, I would say even if the account has slipped into SME, please choose such accounts because it may have repercussions on our reporting with regard to credit appraisal. You know, you can't say if there are more number of accounts which have slipped into SMA, appraisal may not be good in that case. So we will have to keep that balance, especially when we are listing the accounts. We need to be careful on how we are commenting. Now, there are issues that we know we keep facing from time to time, and that is frequent renewal or rollover of short term. This year, especially with MSME accounts, I have given you the references of those circulars earlier, wherein February 6 circular talks about ensuring that because if any account is slipping into NPA for the COVID related stress, don't do it. Fine. But it gives a reference to February 11 circular that talks about repetitive rollovers or restructure is not allowed. So there is a confusion between the two, and we will have to see what is the policy of the bank with regard to MSME accounts, especially with regard to the rollovers and Number two, I have observed that short reviews do take place, and after 6 months, if they are not reviewed, they need to be. Now, upgradation of system should be taking care of this aspect. See to it that those aspects are taken care if the system is not upgraded in different manner. So, one more question here is whether borrower account applicable interest. This question is significant from the perspective of a new guideline which has come up during the current year, which I will be talking about later. It specifically says in cases where accounts are examined by us, so whether this is fine, this generally we will have knows because their accountability is increased so much that generally you may not find, but still if you have something, you may review, and monitoring is very crucial aspect in the advances portion. Many of the accounts have gone down the trail basically because they have not been reviewed properly. Many times it has so happened that people have considered those to be normal gradual renewals. They don't look at some of the important aspects, and therefore it suddenly gets into a fraudulent account or suddenly slips into a write-off account. This year we have to have list. Please note that any account over 6 months is not possible. If it is there, it got to be provided for. Now, this year, whether provision would take place or not would depend on the policy of the bank. This is where the question would arise as to what kind of a disclaimer that we will be giving in our report with regard to accounts which are not renewed. They are extremely crucial. The stock book and statements, periodic operational data, the financial statements, etc., etc. Now, these are all the aspects which will have to be checked with respect to the accounts we have chosen. We have given the list. So please see to it that whatever list you have given, we will address all these aspects with respect to those. And if you have chosen there, if you have written there as chosen for the purpose of audit sampling, see to it that you have gone through these aspects. These questions were there earlier also. However, these questions give us a greater importance when we have actually been asked to list down the accounts that we have chosen for the purpose of audit. In case of a stock audit, in checking of all of us are aware that if the account is 5 crores and above, exposure 5 crores and above, it is necessary that a stock audit is conducted. Now, unfortunately, it so happens that the stock audits are not allotted by the branch. They are allotted only by the zonal offices. Now, so many times the branch auditor raises his hand saying that I am not aware. It is necessary that we take, now that the question is specifically being asked, we need to take a list of all the accounts which are expected to undergo a stock audit, the entire list. And it is necessary that we check whether the stock audit reports are available. If not, it is necessary that we put in that as a specific observation. So it's, the question expects the completeness in terms of sampling, and therefore we cannot assure completeness by our own, and therefore we need to take the list from the branch management with their proper representation that these are the accounts which are eligible for stock audit, and against that which are received, and if they are received, our responsibility lies in going through those for the purpose of our audit. So imagine how our audit of advances, let me tell you, this year we cannot complete our audit in 3 days. There are lot of expectations, right from basic audit report to LFR. Everything that needs to be actually done at the branch has its own nuance, and we cannot simply allow branch management to fill in the LFR for us, which could have happened. See, earlier LFR, it so happened, I'll just give you a background. You know, it was from 85 onwards, so it was getting pre-CBS era. Obviously, many of the aspects were not relevant. That is not the case now. Now, this one question that keeps coming up every time, and none of us have an answer to this. In fact, we wanted Reserve Bank of India to address this issue this time, but they have not. And that is, in case of a non-corporate borrower, generally if they have an exposure of 10 lakhs and above, 10 lakhs and above, they are expected to submit the audited balance sheet. Generally, when we call audited, the branch submits the tax audited balance sheets. Please note that tax audit is not audit, because tax audit is for the tax law purpose, and audit basically means audit with reference to audit standards. Now, the question is, no borrower will have, and no bank has been mandating their borrowers to do so. So we would say we will have the appropriate disclaimer to this clause, because I'm sure no bank has done this. Now, the question is, in respect of accounts which we have chosen, whether inspection has taken place. Now, inspection has its meaning from the perspective of it has to be looked upon from the perspective of verification of the securities. The branch management is expected to verify whether their securities are intact. Now, why all this is gaining importance? You know, you, I have kept one segment in my presentation later, which will bring out these aspects, more loudly. Why are we discussing this at this juncture? Now, if the inspection has taken place and if there are observations, obviously we need to take care of it in our audit reporting. Now, in case if such observations are there, deficiencies, okay, with regard to value of securities or anything, there are specific guidelines of Reserve Bank of India as to how do you treat such. Like if there is a substantial deterioration in the security, then like last year during the course of my audit, we realized that the account was running good. There was no problem. The repayments, everything. However, while going through the papers, I realized that the underlying security is actually sold. Borrower was good and he was still paying, but somehow there was some problem with his house but branch management allowed that to happen. Now, we had to exert to say that we will report that as a fraud, even though the account is running smooth, because the securities are taken out and sold off, officially sold off. Some references was found in the audit pair in the papers. We will be discussing red flag accounts. Reserve Bank of India has come up with a guideline on May 7th, 2015 on red flagging of accounts. This pertains to the accounts which have an exposure of 50 crores and above. I keep insisting on every seminar or on every forum that this is one circular that we must have on our record, not from the perspective of statutory audit, but this would be helpful for us if any one of us or all of us are dealing with banks in any capacity, concurrent auditor, stock auditor, or in any other capacity. This circular will help us a lot. I will display this circular in the end for our benefit. It lists down 45 different type of transactions. Now, I will revisit one aspect which I spoke earlier. I spoke about extra skepticism, greater degree of skepticism in my opening remark. Now, this is where the Reserve Bank of India is saying. Now, Reserve Bank of India found out that of the top 20 fraud that took place in last 5 years, none were reported through audit, except in one case where there was a reference to irregularities of 20 out of 20. Why this happens? That is what the Reserve Bank of India concern was. Now, the issue is Reserve Bank of India says, we auditors are highly obsessed about NPA, marking account as NPA, provisioning. We go so deeper into the concept of 90 days, 89 days, single credit, stock audit, DP, lot of things. We go in greater degree of depth to find out whether a particular account should be downgraded. What Reserve Bank of India says, those are written down and established norms. May all the top 20 accounts, top 20 frauds have been declared fraud from standard to fraud, direct. They have not passed through. So it is necessary that the accounts are given due credit, due attention when they are working. Some of these seamless systems, IT system that we are talking about, which the bankers are using, and no doubt for a branch manager they are a boom, because it gives him the ready-made information for the purpose of monitoring. But please note, these very systems have made our entire banking system lazy. Unless account shows off in SMS 0 or 1, the branch management doesn't do anything. It doesn't move at all. It feels that everything is hunky-dory. That is where Reserve Bank of India is saying, use the greater degree of skepticism. They have listed down 45 different observations, the type of transactions based on their experiences. If you come across any of those transactions, even with a standard account, please flag it off. That is what Reserve Bank of India is saying. So that is very crucial. Now that is what the audit means for Reserve Bank of India now, and not adhering to the established norms which are given. This is something which cannot be documented. This is where the judgmental aspects come into picture, and that is where they expect auditors to actually, help them out. We will be seeing these aspects later. I have taken down few such transactions, and I will also be showing you the circular. Now, there is one more aspect that we need to be doing this year with regard to advances, and that is at the CSA level. Reserve Bank of India has been expecting that you comment top 50 accounts of the bank, standard accounts, top 50 standard accounts, standard large advances. You comment on those. So basically they expect us to select those top 50, check them thoroughly with respect to various circulars, many aspects that includes red flagging also, and give our comment. So they are expecting us to give affirmative that, okay, I've checked this account and it's funky dory, fine. In case something goes wrong, we know one thing, undergoing concern assessment, after the auditors have signed the audit, if anything substantially or materially goes wrong with those accounts within 12 months of signing, and if it is proved that the conditions prevailed at the time of signing, auditor could be held responsible. Now, this is something which is now nobody has said anywhere. Nobody is hinting also in these clauses. But these subtle messages and the subtle responsibilities must be known to us as auditors now, because audit will not be Hitherto, it will not be what it used to be. It has completely changed the rules of the game. And we need to understand these underlying currents that are expected through these questions. So, yes, at your branch, top 5 standard accounts should be chosen for the purpose of, you will have, your branch management will give up anyway, but we will have to actually see and give our comments on those. In case if you have NBFC account in your branch that you are auditing, the question may seem to be simple, but the issue and the concern here is many times these lending institutions take different type of facilities from the bank. Now, as an underlying security, all they have is the advances that they have given in turn to the various borrowers. So their book dates are the security. It is generally observed that the same security amount is offered for all the different types of services. There is no pro rata bifurcation done. And therefore, if such a thing has not happened, there is a possibility whether, a particular advance, whether classified under secured or unsecured, will also have to be looked into. This important one question here, I'm not going through all because the rest of the matters are self-explanatory. It is observed that there are some turn accounts are in SMA category throughout their life. There are some accounts which are substandard every year. How? What happens? They downgrade, they upgrade, they again downgrade. So when they get downgraded again, the new date comes, as far as the SS is concerned. That is what keeps happening. Now, upgradation is something which is crucial from the perspective of classification, we know. Now, branch management would say, we don't do anything. It's automatic. Maybe it is automatic. But any account which was a NPA account and was upgraded during the year in excess of 10 crores and above, of course, this basically the same accounts which we have chosen. If it is upgraded during the year, that needs to be specifically listed down. The reason is, the moment you list down, you need to see whether that was upgraded correctly. I have come across situations where wrong entry or wrong credit into account and a debit same day also has, because it's system based, system doesn't understand, system is GIGO. So one credit, one debit, it gets upgraded. So system can be camouflaged, system can be, manipulated. So this will ensure that no upgradation has taken place which was undue. There is one funny part we have to undergo this year with regard to non-fund exposures of advances. That is, on one hand, the regulators are expecting that provide the list of LCs and guarantees devolved or invoked. And immediately, now they are saying, next page, out of those which are not paid, and their age. Now, so the entire list, what happens, there could be many accounts which they keep on devolving over the period, but some additional advances take place, something happens, and they keep on revising. So necessary, this is a very crucial, and when we are listing this, try to read between the lines and try to find out whether there is something for you to report in it. If you don't find, fine. But while we are giving this information readily, we need to read between the lines and we need to take care. Like for example, if particular account may be constantly LCs get devolved. Why does it get devolved? What is the problem? Whether the bank has taken necessary action to understand why the issue is, or they merely brush it away by saying that, oh, it was a temporary issue, it was a COVID issue, whatever. It is necessary that we have to have a proper explanation on each of those if we have found something repetitive with respect to any particular borrower, of which if anything has not been paid, obviously about 30 days, about 90 days, sorry, this year downgradation is not possible. But what is the policy? What is the policy that the bank is following with regard to this? What is the treatment given to these accounts? What is the kind of review mechanism that banks are trying to put in respect of these accounts that needs to be specifically scrutinized? This is giving us the additional job during the year. There is one more aspect, interchangeability. Many times it happens that at the time of crystallization, if the accounts are about to be devolved, the non-fund based and fund based limits are clubbed together only to show the total limit and avoid any further treatment to it. Now, any such interchangeability allowed at the time of sanction note is a different thing, and interchangeability at the time of devolvement are another aspects. So Reserve Bank of India is very clear that if it is done at the time of crystallization, it is nothing but trying to camouflage the system, and therefore such instances need to be reported. This year, all we can do is report because downgradation is not possible. Whether the branch has a proper system of procedures. Now, this is one question that I have deliberately taken in my this advances lecture, and that is every bank has a MI system, and there is one statement. Now it's called differently in different banks. Some call blue statement, some call account statement, some call some A3, A4, different names. But this one statement has a complete information on the entire advances of that branch, right from its name and when account was open to, what is its status today, its security, everything. its DP, its hypothetical balance that should have been there, the overdues, everything is given in this statement. Now, other than that, the various statements, so all the aspects which are expected to be done during the course of our audit, you may get those readily available through their MIS system. So this year, my suggestion to you would be, we really need to plan our activity. If you bank branches are allotted, visit the branches, keep the aspects which are spoken during the course of such programs, and ask those questions well in advance to ensure that we are not missing on any of the aspects, because careful sampling is going to be one of the crucial aspect along with what we report, because giving list is very easy. Branch is going to give you list of accounts and you will simply put it. But once you put it, our responsibility starts. Yeah, I have deliberately taken these fraud aspects in my session today, and that is because it's so intimate, so much integral part of our advanced checking. And unless we keep this aspect of fraud in mind, it's not possible for us to conclude that we have done it in a fair way. So what we will do, although this relates to fraud, I will discuss certain aspects which are crucial for our advances checking. These are some of the questions. Fine. Okay. Now this early warning signal or RFA that here we are talking about is for accounts which are 50 crores and above specifically. This question number 3rd, if you look at, is so detailed question. If you list down each of the aspect written, it will run into over a page. Potential risk, it doesn't talk about fraud, and therefore it is extremely an essential part of our advances checking. It talks about for example, falsification of accounts, false representation by the borrower, misappropriation of the fund, shell company. Now, how do you know about it? How do you know about it? See, issue is last year or 2 years back probably, I was auditing a branch, and it was among the top 20 branch. As a part of that CSA, you have to check top 20. I realized that there is one account that is, which has a total turnover of 400 crores and a limit sanctioned of some 40 crores, 40 or 45 crores. Now, this manager who is giving me the information was proudly telling me that, sir, this account is extremely good. Although this year, that means that year, their Indian business is reducing, but Dubai business is increasing. My total advances have remained the same. Their turnover has remained the same. So out of 400 crores, say last year, 300 crores was India and 100 crores was Dubai. This year it is 250 crores of Dubai and 150 crores of India. So he's slowly reducing India business and increasing his Dubai business. So recently Nirav Modi case had happened. Obviously I had my own strings. So I was going through the papers. Now, their financial statements, how, what happens generally, I'll tell you, this branch management or a branch manager, although he may be a good banker, he does not, many times, he does not know how to read the balance sheet. He doesn't know how to extract the information which is clearly written in the balance sheet. And he tends to go by the account operations at his branch. And he is blindly believing the way representations are made. But he doesn't go through the paper or, or signed paper. Now, that financial statement was showing, the auditor has clearly, under related party transaction, it was very clear that 80% of his purchases were from related parties and 100% to related parties, sell 100% to related parties. Imagine a borrower which has 80% purchases from related parties and 100% to another related party. It basically means it's a shell company. We are not financing this company, we are financing something else. Now, such aspects can easily be understood by us as chartered accountants. We have that perspective, and therefore, I would say whichever accounts you have chosen, we will ensure that one of the question in LFAR is very clear, whether the financial statements are received. We have to exert, and whichever accounts we have chosen, we will have to study those to see whether, you suspect any of these, because many times the auditor of the company may have given the certain clarifications which the bank may not have read. Caro especially, there are aspects, there are 5 clauses in there which are meant to be read by the bankers. I don't know whether your banker is reading that, whether he knows how to read those. Now, such aspects are critical for us. If they have accounts with other, all those aspects would be known. One more, I'll tell you how we can think. In one case, I had come across a situation where it so happened that it was a large account. Some 75 crores of advances was there. While going through their financial statement, there was one small amount under investments, which was last year it is 1,000, this year it is 2,500. Such a small account, such a small amount. And what was that amount for? It was a shares of cooperative bank. Now, I asked that manager. He said, "वो गांव में रहेगा, इसका पहचान का, they do it as a matter of, he may be some big man in the, so they want him to be shareholder, etc., etc." And I said, "Why company? It's a small thing. When you dig out, I tried to go through various inspection reports. I tried to go through the stock audit reports, and I got a hint that actually he was taking finance from that cooperative bank. And what he would do, nearby year end, he would keep that zero balance there so that he doesn't have to show that in the balance sheet. Now, such a thing are, can be understood by us as chartered accountants, and we can take care of these aspects in our audit. Now, supervisory point of view, why they feel, the divergences take place is account closed to open a new account, rollover, new account open, short-term loans given to some account. From there, the account moves again to original account, etc., etc. Evergreening, round tripping. Now, I don't know how round tripping can be understood or cited by auditors because it is not possible for us. Reserve Bank of India officers may because they audit different banks, but still they have written this. Funds given to parents coming back to SPV. This even today happens. This year also one of the bank calling me that if I were to do this, do you think, I'm not auditor there, they are asking me as an advisor, but they are asking me, if I were to do this, do you think this is, this will attract any provisions of the Reserve Bank of India circular? They were asking me. So people keep doing these aspects, enhancing fund-based limits repeatedly, change of DP, converting, I spoke about it, non-fund based to fund based, sanction of ad hoc limits. So in case you find such, Reserve Bank of India picks up and they pick it up with the intent that there is something wrong with it. Whereas we go by the rule book and that's where the divergences come. So that's where they say greater degree of skepticism. Frauds, last 5 years, there has been a constant increase. Many of them pertain to advance accounts. 90% plus pertain to advance accounts. Now, why this happens? When I was talking about advances, you'll realize that, auditors are obsessed with NPAs. So they say, you something wrong, you want to make provision and you are happy about it. Think whether it is merely a question of provision or it could be a question of fraud, because they are seasoned as NPAs. Provisioning takes place over the period. The fraudster is free to make another fraud. He goes to some new bank, he goes to some new bank with new company, continues the fraud. If he is a fraudster, declared as a fraudster, he doesn't get money from any other bank. That is the difference. So that greater degree of skepticism is crucial. One more aspect. Here, Reserve Bank of India doesn't have any guideline, but they expect auditors to comment on it because, and there is a lot of friction between the auditor and auditee with regard to this. And that is, if some other bank has declared fraud, your account also should be declared fraud immediately. Now, there is no such guideline. In fact, even in case of Nirav Modi, when February it took place, some of the banks had not declared till August and September. And then Reserve Bank of India slapped a fine on them, and then the auditors were pulled, etc., etc. But there is no such guideline. If you come across such, you may have report at least. Now, these are one more aspect, delays in reporting CRILC. All of us are aware that if the account has an exposure of 5 crores and above, and if it slips into SMA 0, then it is necessary that the branch management immediately reports that under CRILC. CRILC, for the benefit of few who may not know, would just say it's a CIBIL kind of a reporting for business accounts, wherein if it has fallen into SMA 0, now in case when you are working on some of the SMA accounts, okay, when you have chosen certain accounts under advances, and if you want to, if you have some doubts on the explanation given by the management, or if you want to move further to understand how that borrower is, and if it is a SMA account in your bank, my suggestion and request to all of you would be, in those some selected accounts, you may request for a credit report of that borrower. Will banks he is operating and where all he has I've switched off because there is some the net is not stable. That's okay. Yeah. So you will get to know, about the nature of that borrower, the way that borrower is behaving, and how we should be dealing with it in the time to come. So credit reporting is very crucial. If you find delays, please report, because it is integral part of our advances checking. Yeah. Now, I will have little divergence on my topic. See, what Reserve Bank of India is saying, while poor credit assessment and fraud risk governance is the cause of the problems that banks are facing relating to the advances, it doesn't stop there. It also says it is also on account of professional service providers. That includes advocates, chartered accountants, valuers, independent engineers. RBI has advised IBA to put in place enhanced web-enabled TPE. TPE is third-party entities. If they find that any of these third party has been joining hands with the borrowers to defraud or to give misrepresentation to the bank, the moment such account is caught, it is not just the account owner, but also the third party entities, the professional service providers also will be pulled in. So we keep giving certifications on book dates, end use, etc., etc. Now, while we feel that we are helping our client, actually we are not helping our client. We are helping him to become indisciplined borrower. And sometimes down the line, he may not have intent, but fails to pay, and unnecessarily we may come into trouble. So please note that it's time for us to know that when we are certifying, we are responsible towards the public money, and our certification will have that aspect kept in mind. Now, what are those aspects especially when we do our credit appraisal, where the divergences are found, where the auditor thinks that everything is hunky-dory, Reserve Bank of India in the time to come sees that no, it's a fraudulent way of working. This should not have been given this treatment. And these aspects are liberal cash flows projections, security perfection, overvaluation, that is a rampant. Now, it is necessary that we know what is the valuation policy. There are three types of valuation. One is the distress one is the realizable one, and one is the market one. If your bank has taken market one, Sorry, they are not allowed. They are allowed to take the realizable value. They may not go for a distressed one, but they have to take the realizable value. Now, some of these valuations are far more, enhanced. We need to understand that perspective also. Okay. So, and finally, it says internal control failure. I will come to this internal control failure later because I need to address that issue. Opening of current account by the banks outside consortium. Now, all of us are aware that outside consortium, if anybody opens, it needs to take NOC from the consortium. Generally, and many times, often private banks open the account or even other PSBs open the account and they don't take permissions from. They are happy to take transactions because they are getting turnover. Reserve Bank of India this year has specifically come up, I think in September only they have come up with the guideline to all the banks that if they have current account of any borrower, so they have been asked to take confirmation. They have been provided the list rather of the borrowers who are enjoying facilities somewhere else, and they have told that this borrower is enjoying facilities in different banks wherein your bank has a current account, please close it. The specific instructions have been given by the Reserve Bank of India to all the banks. Now what has happened, although this instruction is given, these banks have smartly done one thing, and that is they didn't want to close the account, so they said to the borrower, okay, you do one thing, you give me 1 lakh rupee of deposit, you give me 5 lakh rupee of deposit, and I will give you a facility against it. So you give me 5 lakhs, I give you 3 lakhs of facility. You need not use it, but I will say that I will report to Reserve Bank of India that I have closed the current account. I don't have current account. I have a facility account, which is not meant to be closed. All the banks who have current accounts have done this year. Now, I don't have any problems if banks have done it. I definitely have problems if the client or a borrower of a bank which I am auditing has a current account somewhere else and has a substantial transactions. We will still report such transactions because they may have camouflaged it by way of verbatim. It's not a current account, it's a facility account, etc., etc. The purpose is not served, and therefore it is necessary that we report such accounts if you come across, because this is a extremely crucial aspect of finding whether your borrower is loyal or doesn't have any fraudulent intent. The fact that he has current account somewhere else could mean that he has a fraudulent intent. Now, early warning signal May 7 circular that I spoke about earlier. Here are some of the important points out of those 45 points. Critical issues highlighted in the stock audit reports, but branch management has not acted upon. Poor disclosure of materially adverse information. Now, I'll tell you, in one case, I came across a situation where the turnover in the account is less than 200 crores, whereas the turnover of the company is 400 crores. signed balance sheet. And I couldn't find any explanation on that. Related party transaction, they sometimes disclose the parties, but they don't disclose the transactions. So such aspects, if you come across, if the account was SMA 0 in the bank, but Caro has not reported that. Such aspects are crucial. Frequent change in the scope of the project. Liability appearing in ROC search report, but not in the annual report. So if annual report is not giving us the encumbrances, it's a problem. Turnover, I gave example, turnover not routing through the consortium member. LCs issued for related parties without underlying trade transactions. RAID, significant reduction in the stake. In fact, there is one more thing which is not listed under this 45, which I keep talking about, and that is if your take a list of clients where IBC proceedings are initiated by other than lenders, by creditors. Even if you have the list of, you should ask the reason if he doesn't have a habit of paying or why has that happened should be known to us. So if your client has been issued any IBC notice by any creditor, operational creditor, we should know. So this is May 7, 2015 circular, which I would like every one of you to have. This will help you in your, forget about its threshold. Its threshold is 50 crores and above. Don't worry about it. But it really gives you the list of transactions that we need to worry as auditors. We should raise our antennas and eyebrows if such a transaction is found during the course of our audit in that borrower account. The top 20 frauds which have taken place had one or many of these aspects into them, which ultimately led to fraud without being downgraded to SMA 0, 1, 2, 3, straight away from standard to fraud. So keep that aspect in mind. Yeah, I spoke about internal control failure earlier. This year, another nuance that we will face in our audit of branch, and that is we need to certify the existence and effectiveness of the internal control of the branch. Now, as chartered accountants, all of us are aware that Companies Act, when it came into being, this actually came through Companies Act. Those banks which were governed by the Companies Act were following it from 2016 onwards. However, public sector banks, not being companies and not governed by the Companies Act, they were outside the purview of this ICFR guideline. Last year, Reserve Bank of India, in their appointment to CSAs, Central Statutory Auditors, specified that it is expected that the auditors undertake the exercise of internal control safeguarding and certify accordingly. It came to CSAs in the month of March. Obviously, subsequent to that, since Corona started and the lockdown took place, nothing could happen. So they said, okay, it will not be applicable this year. So this year onwards, central statutory auditors, by virtue of their appointment letter and not by virtue of any statute to the bank, are expected to certify. Now, while they are doing that, the question came, how could they do this unless the entire banking system does that? Because the basic keying in and the transaction takes place at the branch level. So I spoke about that interest rates. I spoke about internal control failure. So those aspects actually take place at the branch level. So banks are working. They are still in the progress, and they will be coming up with the RCMs to be submitted by the branch management, which the auditor will have to certify. No, please note, when you are certifying this, you will have to have a separate sampling, and you will have to run through that entire risk cycle to ultimately suggest that the internal controls are not failed. It is not expected that we give a list of samples in this case. That would be part of our documentation. But like any other company, we give along with SA 700, where we give our opinion on the true and fair. We have to give another report giving our opinion on existence and effectiveness of the internal control framework of the branch. So this is something which is completely new. So you will know that there are so many nuances which have come in this year, and they are not surprises. They were not something which are new animals for us. We have been doing this. The, the greater degree of responsibility lies because now we are expected to actually document those officially and attach it along with our report. That is where the greater risk. We were always doing this. So with this, I think I have concluded my session. I would like to take questions if you have. Yeah, there is a question by Nilesh Gupta ji on SC interim order. NPA need not be identified, but if red flagging has to be done. Yes, you are right. There is no ban on red flagging, because red flagging is something that only requires a monitoring for 6 months, and subsequent to that, the bank needs to actually undertake a proper mechanism to ensure that the account is not. Please provide soft copy of presentation if possible. Yeah. I will mail it to the branch right now after my session, and I will do the needful. Sure, I will do the needful. Okay. What are the red flagged accounts? Yeah. Any account which is 50 crores and above, and is if the branch management finds that any of those 45 items listed in the transaction, if such a transaction takes place, that's a trigger. And that trigger expects bank to maintain a separate registry of red flagged account, which requires a separate monitoring. And after 6 months, if bank thinks that the some kind of a measure that needs to be taken for the purpose of monitoring that account, or some kind of a restructuring, or any kind of needs to be done, that needs to be done with those accounts. So instead of allowing such accounts to go down the drain, in the time to come, ensure and address their problems before they become bigger. If we review audit report of any company and related party transactions are not given properly, then what do we do? If they are not given, in one case, I have simply written, provided if you have the information. Okay. Now, if they have not given, we cannot assume that there are related party transactions and the person has not given. If you are aware by virtue of transactions in the branch that there are related parties, and if they are not given, we should, in one case, I have simply called that auditor to find out why this has not done. From where we can obtain the list of red flagged accounts? Yes, the bank maintains a red flagged account registry, and if you have in your branch any account which is 50 crores and above, my suggestion to you, you take a confirmation from the management that none of those accounts are red flags, because sometimes he may not give you the right answer. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, limit is not 50 crores. It is 50 crores and above. So up to 50 crores, red flagging is not applicable. Above 50 crores, red flagging applies. Yeah. Thank you. Should I close down?
So sir, if you are comfortable, let's wait for a couple of minutes. If any participants have more questions, we can take it.
I'm comfortable.
Or else-
Don't
or
worry.
else-
I'm available.
Yes, sir. Or else we can. Members, if anyone is not comfortable typing the question, they can raise hand. We will unmute you and you can ask directly your questions.
Now, turnover in the account more than sales, that is possible. That is possible because there are so many transactions that keep taking place. If somebody has been given multiple loans, please see to it that it is not because of COVID. For COVID, the relief has been given. Bank is not expected to give more. If they have given more, there is something definitely wrong. Yeah, I will share. Funded and non-funded, yes. 50 crores is the exposure. We need not see it every related party transaction, but see, as a chartered accountant, all of us know, I keep saying that the figures speak to us. When you go through those papers, you know whether something is fishy or something, is a routine. So that would be your auditing judgment. I didn't understand this 10% or 20% as per government guidelines. I didn't understand this question. Any idea on time limits which audit to be completed with this time? I can tell you one thing, not possible to cover in 3 days. If you are doing it, we are inviting trouble for ourselves. To the borrower, still the interest is not served. What to do? This year it's a unique situation where, generally speaking, see, this would only form part of the, if FITL is given to the borrower and it's not serviced, it would form part of the irregularities this year, but downgrading is not possible. Downgrading loan 20% of the outstanding as on 20th Feb. Yeah, correct. Okay, you are talking about that. Okay. But September, August 6th circular refers to February 11. You can't keep giving. That was the exact aspect that I was trying to address. You cannot keep giving because of the COVID relief. It dates back to that circular. So that circular talks about only once. For the purpose of audit, Generally, we should see to it that about 60 to 70% of the advances are covered of a branch. If a stock limit of 5 crores, the total exposure or any, no, it is 5 crores exposure. Exposure means the all kinds of exposure. Nowadays, many promoters have been taking unsecured loans to supplement promoters' contribution. This lets okay. There is one specific question in LFR whether loans have been given to fund the shares. And if that is the case, it's an irregularity. If you are officially finding it that the funds are given for the purpose of buying of securities of their own company, it's an irregularity. There is a specific question in LFR, you need to list down such accounts. Audit program in the COVID situation. Frankly speaking, this year LFR is so good. If you go by the LFR, that itself becomes your audit program. It has not left any stone unturned with regard to reporting. So, think from that perspective and go by that. Don't try to, work around more on your own imagination. Because the responsibilities have increased so much, I would prefer to go by what is asked. Because if we try to overdo, we will land up ourselves into trouble. As you were saying earlier in the lecture, and if what is the emphasis of matter to be? See, emphasis of matter would be the branch planning materiality level. No, see, for CSA, that may be the regulators are very clear. If you are working with a branch, IFSC is SA, yeah, correct. Now, see, if you are given a branch is a complete entity by itself, and you have to go by the materiality levels in your branch, and you cannot go by the materiality. If you have this argument, then the branch audit is not required. So how to pre-plan audit of yeah, see, pre-planning basically would mean we need to actually go through some of these circulars, number one. Number two, my suggestion this year being a first year, go through your LFR very meticulously. That will itself form part of your audit report. Go and talk to, because there are quite a few things which are affirmatively asked, and don't take the responsibility on your own. My suggestion, every time you are not sure about the completeness of the information, you yourself draft a management representation letter and give it to the branch management, and unless he signs, don't move ahead. Because this year, if he doesn't give, you still have to give. You have to lay your hands on LFR. So unless, like ICFR, management has to first do it before you sign it. So everything has to be signed. See, in our audit report, you tell them what do we read, right? That it is the management responsibility. It is the management who prepares. We are here only to express our opinion. So let management take that responsibility. You will have to actually, management would not know what kind of a representation letter you would require. Either it may so happen that your CSS would give you, if not, you list down every aspect that you think you will require from the completeness angle. Wherever you are giving affirmative reply, see to it that you take management certification. That clause should be there in your management letter. That would be my suggestion at this juncture. How to pre-plan? Yeah, I think I've answered this.
Thank you so much, sir. Seems like we have answered almost all the questions.
Yeah,
Thank you for being kind enough for taking all the questions so sportingly. I'm sure you will
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that if doubts are not solved of the audience, then the purpose of such seminar not solved.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. I, on behalf
Thank
of
you.
Ahmedabad branch, I would like to express our sincere and heartiest gratitude to you. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and sharing your valuable knowledge
Thank you.
with the members and enriching them
Yeah.
on the topic. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, sir. This will help all the members of Ahmedabad branch to conduct the bank branch audit program efficiently and effectively.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
I'll just mail you the presentation and that EWS circular on Ahmedabad
We'll
branch.
take up with the branch. We'll take up with the branch and ensure that all the members receive the mails.
Yeah.
Registered
Thank you.
participants will receive the mail of the presentation.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, members. Thank you.